Big shout out to all of those who follow me on Facebook, who saw our haunted house post and asked for this video. Luckily, my little lady, being a big Halloween fan and really excited because I'm letting her have a Halloween party this year, recorded most of this. So please excuse the quality, and it is speeded up because it did take 3 days and over 3.5 hours in total, but it all came from nothing but 3 cardboard boxes, one really large one, a medium one, and this small one that I wanted to use for the entrance to the house. I had some leftover black and white powder paint, some gold and some red, PVA glue, a toilet roll, some scraps of red mesh material from a costume I made a few years ago, and to make it waterproof I did use this all-purpose spray varnish at the end. However, you could just PVA the whole thing. So first I had to do was planning it. I did decide I wanted it to be taller so that it can fit on my doorstep, and I also wanted my windows to be quite pronounced, so I wanted to make frames for them. So first thing first, I made some templates of the windows and decided how my house was going to go. I also wanted some smaller windows on the side, so I made templates of a smaller version of the big one that's going to go over the door, and traced them all in place so I knew where I wanted to be, and I could get an idea of how big the house needed to be, how big the roof needed to be. Unfortunately, I didn't have my ruler with me, so I just used whatever I could that was straight. I also used the template of the big window to make the door, and as you can see, it did take a couple attempts to get it just the way I wanted to. After a couple of remakes, I had it kind of the way I wanted to, so it was time to cut out the pattern and make sure that it all fit properly. See, this meant removing a few bits of cardboard. I do want the back to be closed as well, as I want it to be as waterproof as possible. Now, the Stanley knife that I stole off hubby wasn't quite sharp, so this process of cutting out all those windows took forever. But I did want the design and the pattern all sorted before I got to the painting section. So now I have all my bits ready. I'm going to go cut out the rest of the frames for those other windows while I set my little ones to the task of painting the bits that I've already done, as my hands are sore, especially after cutting out all of those little windows, and they like painting anyway. So I didn't film this bit, but that is the entrance done, and now we are going to match it to the rest of the house. So first thing I want to do is double check that everything fits in place, and I'll need to cut my roofs eventually, so I'm just going to give it a nice coat of black. This is the inside of the house, as I do want it to look spooky and I don't want anyone to be able to see the cardboard inside. So next I need to measure the sizes that I needed for the roofs, and as I was absolutely sick of using the Stanley, I borrowed my brother's paper cutter doodad to make sure that I got everything straight, and then just to give those a coat of black too. Now the paint doesn't seem to be adhering to this cardboard for some reason, so I'm just measuring out what I need. I want the roofs at the front to slightly overhang, but not at the back in case I want to put it right up against a wall. So just measured all those bits that I needed and gave them a good coat of black as well, and popped them aside to dry while I painted the outside of the house. While that was drying, I got started on the roofs. Now I did want them to look like they had tiles on them to have some texture, so using my very old glue gun that only works when it wants to, I did the shingle effect and popped them aside to dry. I realized I still had to cut out the back V section for that roof, so I just used a bit of cardboard from the front that I'd cut out as a template, and cut that out, and one more test to see if, well, attempted to cut that out, and one more test to make sure that my roofs fit perfectly, which they do. I wanted the outside of the house to have a weathered effect, so I mixed some white with a little bit of black to get a grey, and with a dry paintbrush just brushed up and down to give it that weathered old house look. While that was drying, it is back to the roof, and it's really hard to paint over hot glue, so I mixed some PVA in with that grey and some extra water, and then onto the roof I'm just going to put a layer of the PVA and then just those separated sheets of toilet roll. So this was 2-ply, I only want 1-ply, and I'm just pushing those bits of toilet paper in between the shingles or tiles so that the bumpy effect is still going to be there. And then I'm just going to pop those aside to dry and go back to my house and stick down all of those frames to go on the windows. As you see, my little mascot has come. You've got to have a black cat in a haunted house. And apparently Snacks seems to think that I'm making this house for him. I then got little bits of that red mesh that I had, fabric that I had over, and on the inside of the house I'm just going to fold those over so that it gives a ruffled curtain effect, I guess. I do want, because I'm going to be putting lights in, I want them to shine through, but I still don't want anyone to just be able to see in. So I did the same with the door. And then for the big window above, I used 2 bits of that fabric so that I can open those curtains if I want to. One last check to make sure everything is in place and I've got all of those bits. And time to start sticking it down. So I did measure it out because I want to make sure it's perfectly square, and then started to stick all my bits down. Now I'm not sure if you can see, but I did leave a little bit of, well, you can see a little bit of the flap at the bottom of this one. You won't be able to see it under the windows, but it does give a more secure area for me to stick it to. Use some excess, well, not excess, use some more glue or the glue gun on that inside just to make sure that those 2 flaps stick together and it looks like one house rather than, you know, a house with a cut down the middle. And then I didn't get to film, or my daughter didn't film the last section as she was out playing with her friends, but all I did then, once I'd made sure everything was tightly glued at the front, was added my roof bits. I did seal those up at each point as it is likely to rain. It always rains here on Halloween, and I do want the house to be waterproof as I am going to have a speaker and a battery charger and a light in there. And then once that was all glued in place and I'd sealed all the edges under the roofs and everything with the glue gun, I just gave it a good spray with the spray varnish, the lacquer, to make sure that no water is going to be getting in it and this house isn't going to fall apart on us on a rainy Halloween evening. So the light is in there now. It's just a flashing disco light that my kids had. It looks really cute. We had so much fun making this house. I can't wait to get it out on Halloween. And let us know if you guys like this video. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know if you try and any other cool Halloween DIYs that you are doing this year. I just did a spider web on the side of the entrance. I did decide against painting that in the end, as I thought it had a really cool effect in just a hot glue. Really enjoyed this, like I said, and I hope my girls love it and enjoy their Halloween party. And now I'm off to finish the Book of Spells from Hocus Pocus. That is going to be one of our other decorations. I didn't film the beginning, but if you'd like to see the rest from this point, I will be doing a video on that after this. almost Halloween, guys, and happy crafting. Hope to see you again soon. Bye.